Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Talk Freelance to Me. I'm your host, Ashley Cisneros Mejia, and I am so excited to introduce you today to one of the most fantastic, just business oriented, amazing people to work with in the graphic design, creative director space. Vanessa Seijas Chico, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for carving some time out for us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Vanessa, you have done so much. Do you want to share a little bit of your background with the audience?
Sure. I have been freelancing for about 12 years now. I've been a graphic designer and a broadcast animator for a little over 20 years now. Crazy to think about, not to
Yeah.
date myself. But yeah, I used to work, I worked for Fox, NBC, Golf, major companies and did the whole 9 to 5 thing. And when I had kids or when I was planning on having children, I kind of made I started taking those active steps, knowing I always wanted to work from home, started to take those steps to freelancing from home. And here I am 12 years later.
That's incredible. And I can imagine scary. I think, this whole like working for yourself, being a girl boss thing is like very hot right now. And even the idea of like remote work has become more popular since the pandemic, but you've been doing this a long time before it was kind of a standard to even do video calls and things. Can you
I
tell us a
know.
little bit about that? Like what steps did you take to get into the independent work and start your graphic design business? And what was that like leaving big companies that are very respected like Fox television stations and the Golf Channel?
Yeah, yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, I always feel bad. I don't want to say like it was a good thing that the pandemic happened, but one of the silver linings was like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years and, it's definitely changed. And
Mm.
it's great for me because, when I was first freelancing, it was what? You work from home? How do I get my files to you? Zoom was just in its infancy. It was, I really didn't even Zoom that much with my clients. Now I Zoom, oh my gosh, I Zoom 5 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was nice because in some ways, it made it, I guess it wasn't so foreign to everybody. Now it's, oh, you work from home. And that's it. Oh, yeah. I know 3 people that work from home, or I work from home. And now everybody is more versed in this technology in Zoom or Google Meet and Dropbox and Google Docs and Google Drive, or, all these different ways to share files, to communicate with one another. And it's really great. I mean, like I said, for me, it's made my life so much easier. I feel like everybody's on my page now.
Yeah.
But yeah, how I got to this point, it started small. It was very baby steps. I can't say I made this giant leap and decided to work from home, but I always knew I wanted to. From a very At the very beginnings of my career, I always thought it would be great because my dad started his own business, and I
Mm.
always loved watching him and his flexibility of being able to make his own schedule and be home with us. And I knew when I wanted to start a family, I wanted that. So I was trying to always take these baby steps in my career towards that goal. And, but first, when I was working at Fox, I was just a regular graphic designer, broadcast animator. And sometimes my producers or coworkers would, ask me, hey, I have a friend who needs a logo. I need a brochure. Can you help me out? And that's how it started. I would work my regular job, and then anytime somebody needed something, I would do a little brochure or an invitation or a logo design. And then eventually, as you meet people in this business and make these connections, is that, oh, well, I have a friend who owns a big company and they need to do a rebrand. Do you think you can take that on? A lot of times it would be serious. Oh, I've never done that before, but
Yeah.
um, let me try. And then you kind of learn a little bit and you grow a little bit. And then and that's kind of how it started. I would do these small one-off jobs, build my portfolio, started to build my online presence, and having things that I could show clients of what I've done in the past. And then eventually, I was at the Golf Channel when I finally left. But when I was pregnant with my son, I said, I've been kind of working my way towards this, and now I'm going to have him. And I think I'm ready to not come back. I was going to go on maternity leave, and I kind of knew I wasn't coming back. And I took a lot of that time during my pregnancy to be ready to leave and to work from home and freelance for myself. But like I said, by then, enough of a little bit that I knew I could just make a little bit of money. Thank goodness my husband made the majority of the income, but I knew I had enough to get started. And that's kind of how I came to be.
That is super inspiring. And I love how you touched on that, you were willing to be out of your comfort zone and stretch a little bit and learn new things. And, I think so much, like, I think the prospect of working for yourself or being an entrepreneur is kind of scary, can be intimidating to a lot of people, but it's so refreshing to hear you kind of share how that gradual process look like for you, that you had the seed, it was planted, and you scaled up in a reasonable way. That's super cool.
Yeah. And that's slowly how it's been. And as my kids have grown, I scale up every year, I feel like, when they're
Yeah.
babies, you work a little bit at night, so you can be
Yeah.
present with them during the day. And then when they go to school for a couple hours, okay, I'm going to work 2 hours a day. And
Yeah.
then when they're in school full time, okay, I'm going to work 5 hours a day. Um, and just slowly scale up because it is hard to jump into that deep end. And I'm still scared even now. I won't lie. There's always, even I've been doing it 12 years and I still get scared
Yeah.
doing it.
Me too, all the time, because we are everything. We are business development, we're sales, we're marketing. We take out the trash, we do the accounting,
Yeah.
like this is it. So it definitely can get scary sometime, but looking back and seeing that success record of 12 years of doing this, you know that you can, and that you'll
Yeah.
continue. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
cool. So you
Yeah.
have a lot of different skills. So you do the graphic design, but you're also an animator. You also studied communications in school. So like the strategy for campaigns and things like that, and you understand the business objectives, you understand business really well. And then you also have this very successful Etsy store, and you sell printables. That's another arm of your business. So how do you decide what to offer, what to really push, and what to kind of dial down?
Well, it's funny because I jokingly always say, I'm like, well, whatever pays the most. That's,
Right. Yeah.
but, and it's fun too because I think as you're starting out and then as you're doing whatever it is, if it's copywriting, any type of freelance, you kind of start to figure out what you're getting the most bang for your buck.
Mm.
I have found that my animation work pays the most
Mm.
relative to the time.
Mm-hmm.
My cost, my hourly rate is higher when I'm doing animation. Um, so that's kind of my bread and butter, right?
Yes.
But that work is few and far between. I feel like I don't always have somebody knocking on my door wanting me to do animations. Um, so, but I also offer a wide range of services too. I do graphic design, I do brochures and logo and mostly branding design.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so over the years, it's just experimentation. I've just seen what works for me. What am I also then it's a mixture too of then what you're passionate about, what you like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I could be a project manager on something, but I don't like to project manage. Right?
Right.
It might pay really good,
Yeah.
but I'm not it's robbing me at the same time.
Yes.
So it's kind of that balance of finding, okay, well, what pays enough to keep the lights on,
Mm-hmm.
that you're happy and you're enjoying it, and that way you can do it, because when you get burnt out, that doesn't work for anybody.
Right.
Um, and have a wide range of of abilities or things that you can do. Like you said, my Etsy store. It's funny that really only kind of started as a side hustle to my freelance because
Mm.
I get animation jobs, but like I said, I'll maybe get one or two, maybe three a month for
Yeah.
those. And then in that downtime, or say someone's not knocking on my door wanting a logo design and branding, I can't just sit here and twiddle my thumbs. I need
Yeah.
to find a different another revenue stream.
Hmm.
And that's how kind of the Etsy store started, is me trying to stay busy and have another income. So and that could probably be anything really for anybody. It doesn't have to be Etsy. But that was just what I decided to do. So it's kind of great because, I have it. And now with digital prints and stuff, I can just upload a digital file. Customer purchases it and Etsy takes care of the rest. It's like set it and forget it. The
So
digital
cool.
file. Yeah, they purchase it. It gets emailed to them. They download it. I don't have to do anything. So when I find those gaps or those periods where I'm not actively working with a client, I try and find other ways to say, okay, well, I can do that. And then it's kind of nice because then when I am busy and I'm working, I've kind of got two streams coming. I'm during the day, I'm working and I'm working on my branding, but then when I'm sleeping, my Etsy store is making some sales. And
Awesome.
I find there's a very ebb and flow too. It's very
Mm.
bizarre. Like when I get very busy with my graphic design stuff, or if I'm not busy with my graphic design, the Etsy store starts doing well. And then
Wow.
when I get busy, it's very funny how I don't know why, but it
Yeah.
seems to do that for whatever reason. So yeah, so to say like, what I choose to dial down or ramp up. It's just a combination of what I'm drawn to, what I enjoy doing, and what is going to pay me well for my
Yeah.
time because my time's valuable.
A
So,
hundred percent. So cool. So your job, I mean, I am just, and we have had just freelance fam, so you know the backstory. We've worked together. Me and Vanessa have worked together on projects, probably for several years now. And I'm always in awe of your ability to take these super abstract ideas that a client has and you bring them to life in a visual way, which to me is so hard. I mean, at least for me, like if I'm being asked to write copy, the client might be able to, they're vocalizing, right? They're verbalizing the idea. They might even say, "Hey, I want to sound like XYZ." They might, we might be able to. There's more resources, I guess, to kind of solicit that feedback from them so that I can produce the copy. But for you, there's no way to peer into someone's brain. I mean, sure, some people might try to draw you like some stick figures or something, but that is a superpower that you have. So, can you tell us more about your creative process?
oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, it's funny because I think of myself, I joke all the time that I could be a sensitive person, but I think that as a strength and not a weakness sometimes because I think it gives me the power to empathize with my clients, to understand where they're
Mm,
coming from, you know, and
yeah.
and and be able to really see their challenges and how I can really help them solve that. So I think you maybe a creative person, they say we're more on the sensitive sides, but I think that's why we are. I think it serves us very well to help get into our clients' heads. And that process, usually I start obviously my process if I had to go down the line is I start with research and discovery. Try and understand my clients' industry, their target audience, the competition, their brand values, and then understanding their needs, expectations, and their goals, and
Mm,
really getting to know that, like really diving in and knowing what their brand is, because they're always so passionate about their brand, and I want to be too, because then I'll design better for them.
right.
Um, then normally, obviously, next step is concept development. So after like gathering insights and understanding the client's needs, I start brainstorming ideas for their brand identity. Obviously most people know what graphic designers, when we sketch, we do mood boards, we do rough designs. Um, and then, and part of that, what I like to do with my clients, my little secret sauce, as I like to say, is
Yeah.
um, I like to create a Pinterest board, or,
Mm.
or and not just endorse Pinterest, but kind of mood board or file that you can share with your client that you can dump ideas into.
Right.
Because I think of it as like, when you watch these personal shopper like makeover shows where, it's like, oh, I need a new look, or they come in and they redo the client, or like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy or something, they
Yeah.
come in and they redo them or whatever. And it's funny because that person, you know, they'll get to know that person, their personal style, what their goals are, what they want. And you do that, but then you also kind of like push them a little, right? you
Mm.
know
Mm-hmm.
you want to stay with something that they like. If they say, oh, I hate green, well, you don't want to do a green logo then, because even though you might think, well, I think that's best for the brand, you either have to kind of help guide your client to see that
Mm-hmm.
a little, or you have to meet them halfway, because
Yes.
they're not going to be happy. Even if you're like, well, that's the best thing for them, it won't matter if they don't want to use it,
Right.
and they're not excited about it. I'm like, oh, that's my logo. Ugh, I guess I didn't agree with it, but I guess it's pretty
Yeah.
happy. So I like to create Pinterest boards, and I'll just throw all kinds of ideas. I'll get to know them first, get to, like I said, all those research and discovery things first. And then I'll kind of, in that board, put what I'm thinking, what
Mm-hmm.
my vision is for the brand. I like this font, I like this color palette for you, and this is why. And I'll invite the client to collab too. If you're out and about, or you're on Pinterest, or you're on the internet, or you're even driving down the road, take a picture. Tell me about a brand that you really love, that you're drawn to, that excites you, that you would love to be like, share all that with me and put that on the board. And then, and normally 9 times out of 10, through that collaboration and that board creation and looking at all that, you can kind of like, it's like making a cake. I always joke. It's like, you take this, okay, we like this font here, and we like that color palette there, but we like the way they did this layout here, and putting it all in there and mixing it together to make it yours and unique to
Mm.
you and your brand story. And that's kind of like what I like to do. So it's very sweet of you to say how I can get in their head. It's just mostly me drawing it out of them and
Mm.
getting them to, because even some people, they might not know what they want, but when they look at that board, they know what they don't like
Right.
too, which is also helpful.
That
Oh,
is.
I'll put something, oh, I hate that. Oh, I don't like
Right.
that font, or that's too skinny. And it's great because ultimately that really helps you as a designer really knock it out of the park the first go around. That's always my goal, is to just get so much information that even the client's like, oh, I know where we're going to go with this. I just got to
Yeah.
see it done, you know?
Right.
So,
That is so cool and such great advice too. Like when you touched on meeting them halfway, because that can be hard. We can, especially, we're creative people and we are passionate about our work and we want to make these recommendations in their best interest, and we'll share them, those recommendations. But sometimes the clients, they know what they want, and they it's not our baby, it's their baby. And so being able to know when to push and when to nudge them, but then also when to hear them, to hear what they're telling us. I mean, that's such golden advice. I really
yeah.
appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. I was just working with a brand yesterday. It's a treadmill company, and we're working on their website. Here's a real world scenario. We're working on building their website, and um, right now they have a residential division and a commercial division, and under those they have treadmills, bikes, and ellipticals. They have treadmills, bikes, and ellipticals that are the same as their residential and commercial. But they build such wonderful quality machines that they're commercial grade. You can just
Mm-hmm.
get them in your home now. So it's the same product on either side. They just so I had suggested, well, why don't we get rid of commercial and residential and split it, and we just have treadmill, and
Mm-hmm.
then you go into treadmills, and then from treadmill, that workflow, you do treadmill, and then you choose from there whether it's going to be a residential purpose or a commercial purpose.
Hmm.
And they brought up a wonderful, and here I am thinking, oh, look at me, I'm so smart, I solved their problem. That made such a better workflow for them, and they brought up such a great point. They're like, well, yeah, but actually, the reason why we do this is because we don't want the consumer to accidentally purchase. Because the difference is their warranty. When you purchase the residential piece of equipment, you get a lifetime warranty.
Mm.
With the commercial, because if you're using it in a health, a health club or a fitness
Mm-hmm.
facility, the warranty is going to be different because of the usage is different,
Makes sense.
and they don't want the consumer to get confused where they accidentally purchased the wrong and now they don't have the great warranty that would normally come with their machine.
Right.
And I was like, well, that
That's a
you
good
schooled
point.
me. That's a good point.
Right.
So, and but we did end up finding another solution in other ways. So it's a collaboration, they know their brand, they know what works. And you might have good ideas too, but maybe you could find some kind of happy medium that serves both.
I love that. So cool. Thank you for the case study too. Like
Okay,
really
little
help
case study.
listeners, yeah, like understand how, it might inspire future conversations or when they are in a situation that's similar, they can recall that lesson. So that's great.
Yeah.
So I know you do a lot and you have a lot of different clients. How do you juggle the different clients and your store when they all have different things that you could be working on and often competing deadlines? Everybody wants their stuff first and it's important. How do you
First,
make that
yesterday.
happen? Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, no, you're totally right. That's the other kind of thing you as a freelancer, it's not like you're in a office working for one company and everybody knows that it's just you and there and everybody's on the same page working on that one campaign or something like that.
Right.
When you're working for yourself at home, yes, you might have like five different clients that you're serving, and they don't know that you're talking to, you have four other clients that you're working with, and they have their own deadlines and priorities.
Right.
Um, so yeah, would I, speaking of priorities, that's what I do. I prioritize it.
Mm.
Sometimes it's based on the project, okay, so you have a website that needs to launch or something for your industry. January is your big sell month. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to push out a teaser video for January. Um, Sometimes, like I said, it's just by project. So whose project needs to get done first? What is if I have to get these deliverables to another, um, because sometimes working with a client, I'm actually designing it, but then they're making t-shirts, right, for a conference that they're going to. And I need to get that to the printer by a certain time. So it has a lead time to get printed, to get shipped, to get to them to go to the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I sometimes prioritize per project. I oftentimes will create like a weekly schedule for myself because, you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a planner. Probably should be. And maybe if you're like me out there in this world, you're
Yeah.
not that great at it. I sometimes have a monthly schedule, but honestly, I try and break it down to a week because for me, that's just more digestible
Yeah.
to have a week layout. And I'll put, okay, Monday, I'm going to do this. Tuesday, I'm going to do this. Thursday, I'm going to have this designed and these goals. So I'll break it down weekly. That's just what works for me. Um, and then always, I think what's most important is communicating with the clients, keep them in the
Mm.
loop.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think nobody can get their feelings hurt is if you're upfront and honest and set realistic expectations and time frames.
Whew.
Don't overpromise. I always joke around. It's like those. You ever watch Star Trek, the old Trek, with
Yeah.
they have Scotty, and Scotty's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Captain, it's gonna take 2 hours," you know. And he's like, "Well, Scotty, well, I only got 2 minutes." And they're like, "Oh, okay," and they always make it work. He always,
Right.
it's kind of that what is it? The don't overpromise,
Yeah.
or what is the saying? Like, you, you've got to be Scotty, you've got to be the miracle worker. So give a
Right.
little bit of buffer time. And then when you get it done, a little earlier, well, it looks like, whoa, you're a hero,
Yeah.
you know. But at the same time, I say that, but I do try to be very honest with my clients and tell them, and then when things happen, hey, you know, I actually had a big project and my kids got COVID. I got COVID and we all went down. And it was a struggle for me to do my work feeling so sick.
Mm,
Um, and I just, you don't have to overshare, but you can be a little honest with what's going on, and more times than not, I find my clients are very understandable. As if you're honest with them and you don't try to fake it or pretend, they are oftentimes really understanding when these things come up and moving things around. But just prioritize per project, prioritize, make yourself a schedule if even if it's a weekly one. Just be very communicative with your clients, and then if all else fails, outsource or collaborate. I have
mm,
a lot of other graphic designer friends that were colleagues of mine, co-workers that I worked with at Freelance now from home. And sometimes it's like it's kind of a good problem to have, but you might get two projects at once and they both have the exact same deadline and everything's the same. What do you do? You want to do both of them, but then sometimes I say, okay, and I don't want to let my client down, so I'll outsource it. I have a couple designer friends. Hey, I'll reach out. I have this project. I'm unable to do it, or can you start it? Or um, maybe I'll design it. You animate it. You can like split up your work a little bit. I just last night had a friend of mine that reached out to me and says, he was like, oh, I have these like three projects going on and I want to do all three, but I'm doing this. Can you just design it and just do the concept art and I'll animate it later? Like I'll do the, so you can even break it up that way,
mm.
or if you can have a friend design and sketch it, and then you animate it or whatever it is, relative, that makes sense for you, what your industry is. You can split up work. Never feel like I always like to say like never feel like you have to do everything.
Right.
I'm sure if you have if there's other creative people in your circle, reach out to them. They might say, oh, this is great, I actually had nothing going on this week, I'd love to help. Maybe I could even write a couple sentences or do half of it, or maybe I can do your grammar and editing checking, or just
Yeah.
however you want to break it up. But that's another way that it helps me juggle different clients' timelines and so forth.
Super smart. I love that. I love that. And I love how massive your network is when you're talking about like collaborating with these friends, because I feel like you know so many cool people and so many various industries, people doing really cool jobs, and you have some great clients. Can you share some tips for how you attract not only clients in general, but clients that you really want to work with and you like their project, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. I um I joke that I like to talk to everyone. You
Mm.
know me, kind of a
Yeah.
book talker, for better or worse. But it's funny because I can say that there's the typical, you can attend industry events,
Hmm.
design conferences, workshops. I locally go to this thing that we have here in Connecticut. It's called the Business Socialista Society, and I think once a quarter they get together, and it's all women and business, and it's kind of a networking event.
Cool.
And I'll go to things like that and just talk to people and see if my services could help them. Or sometimes it might be helpful just to learn, get to know other people because, as you said, like a client I'm working with right now, it started off doing graphic design, but now they need like a photo shoot and they need all this other services and social media management. And I can be like, oh yeah, I actually know somebody, and I bring them in, or oh, I have a company down in Florida that can shoot this, and I bring them in, and vice versa. So then when they get to know me and they have a client where they're doing a production shoot, but they need graphics to go along with it, they'll reach out to me. Um, for maybe somebody who, say you're kind of getting into freelance and you don't have a lot of, you didn't really work for a company. You're just straight going online, right?
Yeah.
Just straight to just working for yourself from home, and you haven't had a chance to kind of build contacts in your regular job, or the job, if you had a regular job before that. There's tons of like online um, groups that you can join as well to, kind of help build a community if you don't have one, and you can get referrals, that way. um, but uh, to like attract new clients and stuff, I joke all the time. A lot of my work comes from referrals. That is probably
Mm.
like 95% of what my work and my clients. I worked with one person, they loved working with me. And then they referred me, the next day we're talking to somebody and they needed something. So they referred me to that person. And I think we were talking earlier, that's how I came to work with you. Um,
Absolutely.
a mutual friend, you were looking for somebody, and a
Hmm.
mutual friend of ours said, oh, I know somebody.
Yeah.
And and then we started working together. And same thing, like sometimes you've given me work, sometimes I've had, copywriting
Yeah.
work for you.
Yes.
And so, like I said, referrals, just working with people, and then they refer you to others. And funny enough, though, this might sound crazy, but like I said, I talk to everybody. And I was literally talking to my garage door repairman. Um,
I love this.
I was talking to him and he gave me his business card, and I loved the design. And I said, oh my God, who did this? This looks so good. They said, oh, I had this company out in California. They did it for me. And I said, oh, that's really great. I just wanted to compliment you. I love it because, you know, I love this guy, the garage door repairman, because I mean, he knew the value of branding, right?
Yeah.
Even though that's just what he does, he had a
Yes.
beautiful brand designed for him. And but we just got to talking, and I said, "Oh, I'm actually a graphic designer." And he's like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, but I actually do more animation." So, "Oh, I actually need an animation. I really want to get my." He had like a character for his, but I'd like to have him animated and do all these things. I said, "Oh, well, yeah, here's my number." And there you go. Just I can't tell you
Wow.
how many other clients I've gotten just from chatting somebody up at the deli, or
Yes.
oh, that's what you do. Oh, yeah, because even if it's not that person, they might, a friend of a friend might say, oh, I need, a logo design. Oh, and they might go, it's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, where they're like, oh,
Absolutely.
and so I would say, don't be afraid to talk to anybody. You never know where some of those, off the wall client like projects, they might lead to the best project of your life and the best client of your life. And it was your garage repairman, like you never know.
I love that. So you hear that, freelance fam? You need to talk. You need to talk to people. Talk to them. See
Yes.
what they're
And
about. What
don't
their
be afraid
story
to,
is.
yeah, don't be afraid to chat yourself up, you know?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to, I know it's hard for us to talk about ourselves, but
Yes.
when you do and you show that confidence in your work, oh, it goes a long way, you
I
know.
agree. Great
Um,
reminders. You never know. You never know where your next project, your next client's coming from.
never
So
know.
good. So good. So you are really great at talking to folks and listening to them and hearing what they're saying and empathizing with them. And it made me think about art being so subjective, right? And I've seen you do this so much, your ability to bring their vision to life and then also be so receptive to their feedback. And to not, I've never seen you get flustered. I've never seen you get, I don't know, even like your feelings hurt about it. Like you're just so professional. So, how do you rein in picky clients who maybe aren't sure what they want? And then how do you also keep the edits from going and going and this
Mhm.
person says they think this, like how do you get the project so that it's wrapped up and everybody's happy?
Yeah. I know, right? Because you can get those clients, the
Yeah.
difficult ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah. That one, you're so kind and sweet that you say that.
It's true though.
I always joke on the Zoom call, you're like, yes, very professional and kind and sweet, but then as soon as that call's off,
Yeah,
it's
it's like,
like,
ah! Yeah, I
um,
relate.
but yes, but yeah, we can get those clients. I'll give you a case study. I had a plastic surgeon client, and that's exactly what happened. He had gone through like three other graphic designers.
Oh,
Oh gosh, I know. I was already red flags, right? Let's
yeah.
maybe even start there. Let's talk about red flag
That's a
clients.
good thing. Good topic.
Yes, because when you get a client that's coming to you, and I've been through three different graphic designers and I've seen hundreds of concepts and I
Mm,
don't like anything, red flag, little bit of a red
yes.
flag. So go into it with caution because you're probably going to be the fourth one that
Yeah.
that person's gone through. So you might be careful to even take on that kind of client. So, so there's a little bit of a red flag. But if you know going in, and just like I talked about before about that research and really getting to know, I think that's where the pitfalls happen
Mm,
because a lot of graphic designers will design, again, like I said, what they think the client
mm-hmm,
should have. And then the client's never happy.
mm.
And I think if you do, I call it, it's a lot on the front end for a less on the back end. you know
Mm,
you
mm-hmm.
really dive in, get to know exactly what they want, show them all kinds of examples and ideas, and see, they say, oh, I hate that, I like that, I hate this, I hate, oh, I like that one. Okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
dissect that. What did you like about that? Oh, I liked that it was this and that, and then you can kind of figure out, oh, I see what they want, I see
Yeah.
what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you kind of get yourself out of that habit, like having those picky clients. And like I said, a lot of work on the front end, less work on the back end. And then my other advice would be, as this probably pertains just to graphic designers, is what I used to do when I was first starting out as a graphic designer is I would be like, okay, let me do this, and I would show the client 15 different logos.
Mm.
And oftentimes, when I would show them 15 different logos, there would be all these different, like, then there would be a ton more edit to it. And then I slowly started to learn that instead of showing them 15, if I just showed them three,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot less edit and there was a lot less back and forth about what they liked or didn't like. And then sometimes I laugh because sometimes I've even shown clients one concept,
Yeah.
and I laugh. I've shown them one, and I've no. Oh, love it, done. Where do
Awesome.
here's my
Music.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it's kind of funny, isn't it? You would think like, well,
Yeah.
I only showed them one, but you'd think if you showed them 15, that's the way it would have gone. But funny
Yeah.
enough, less is more. And
Interesting.
also flushing out that idea to the fullest. So say you do, I feel like to do around three concepts. That's kind of I feel like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But when I do three, I flush them out completely. And I think that helps the client see where their brand is going, because you can just do a logo design. But I think it's hard for some people who are not creative. A lot
Yes.
of my clients are doctors and stuff, and they're very smart, very intelligent individuals, but it is hard for them to visually see it in the real world. So when I do my three concepts, I'll do probably like 20 pages of mock-ups. This is what it would look like on a t-shirt. This is what it would look like. This is an example of how your homepage would look. This is an example of some social media posts. This is an example of your signage. And really showing them, here's not only the logo, but here it is in real life. You
Right.
can look at this and you can see it all before you,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I think that goes such a long way. So instead of doing those 15 logos, do three solid logos and flush them out fully. And like I said, that goes such a long way to keep those edits down for me, as a graphic designer.
That's amazing. Such good advice. You do a lot. You do so much. So, in addition to running your busy design company and your store, you're also a wife and a mommy to two awesome kiddos. How have you learned to juggle mommyhood and freelance? And what lessons have you learned in that regard?
The short answer, I haven't.
Right. Okay, we can all feel
Just
better about ourselves then.
just
No.
being 100% transparent. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
one of these ladies. Oh, I've got it all figured out. I have
Right.
no idea what I'm doing still. Every day I'm still figuring it out. I joke that it's like juggling chainsaws and flaming bowling balls while riding a unicycle. It's just,
That's
you
perfect.
know,
Perfect. That's exactly what it's like.
it's exactly what it's like. And I wish I could say in 12 years I've learned how to do it well and I've got it down to a system. No,
Mm,
it's, as your children grow and age, things change. And as your business grows and grows, it changes. So they're changing, you're changing. It's always changing every year.
yeah.
So I think you got to stay fluid and flexible and just know that it is what it is. You just try your best to juggle it all. And I guess if I had any kind of advice, with time management and that sort of stuff, like what works. I mean, maybe I guess the best advice I can give is what works for me.
Hmm.
Um, you know, my kids are in school, so they're gone from like 8 a.m. till 3 o'clock. And
Hmm.
what I try to do is I say, okay, as I said, I set that weekly expectations. Okay, Monday I'm going to do these 3 things, and I try not to overdo it. I don't want to put 10 things because I know I'm not going to get to those 10. Let's
Right.
be honest.
Right.
It's all well wishes, but I'll
Yeah.
put three. I know three I could probably get to.
Yes.
And I just make sure once they're on the bus, I sit down, I buckle down, I get what I need to get done. And then 3 o'clock, I stop. It's like, like in Top Chef when they're like, hands up, just
Right. Yeah.
walk away.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Not going to say that I do it every day, but I try my best to say, okay, that's it. 3 o'clock, I got to stop and be and flip that switch because it is flipping a switch between being a creative, being a freelancer, and then being a mom.
Yes.
It's like two different people, you
Yes, it
know.
is.
And I think the days when I try to be both are the days I fail at both. You
Whew.
know? So
Yes.
I personally find it easier to okay, this day I'm gonna work like a crazy person, and then the next day I'm gonna do all my errands and all the things and go on the kids' field trips, and then I'm mom, and then the next day I'm freelance for that. So it's like I take off my hat, I put on the new hat because when I'm trying to wear both hats at the same time, it doesn't look good for anybody.
Right.
And that's what just works for me is just don't even try during the day to juggle both. Just flip the switch and be mom and be present. And then like sometimes I'll put them to bed at 8 and then I might allow myself to jump on for an hour,
Hmm.
answer some emails that I didn't maybe get to that day that needed to be replied back to that day. So you don't look like you didn't, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just what works for me. That might not work for everybody, but that's the best advice I could give for me.
I love that. That ability to switch. And maybe that is the secret because yeah, when we're juggling, it's a
Yeah.
circus, so
I
literally
don't do either one well. Not
no,
no.
no. And you're so right. Because I feel that way too. I feel like, yesterday, one of my kids, it's their birthday today. So yesterday was the errand day. And it was running around, getting gifts, getting, cakes and cupcakes for the class and all that jazz. And it's like, yeah, to try to do some of that today combined with work, it wouldn't be good. So
Yeah.
it's that's great. And
So
I love that
don't
you
try. Don't try and
yeah,
force
don't
it,
try. Don't try. You're just going to be frustrated, right?
It's gonna be frustrated,
Yeah. That's so
but
good. So good. So good. So you've been doing this a long time. What would you say is your best piece of advice for new freelance graphic designers? Maybe something that you wish someone would have told you when you first started out.
mm, that's a good question. I guess my best piece of advice for new freelance graphic designers, you know, they probably know out there, watch tutorials, do videos, learn, keep yourself, sharp with industry standards and always keep learning. And I feel like that's kind of like the given, right? Everybody, I feel like everybody kind of knows that.
Right.
I would say, as someone who's been freelancing for a while now, um, I personally feel like I've learned that building relationships with your clients is one of the most important things you can do to succeed. Communication, like we talked about, is key. Make sure you're always listening to your clients' needs and communicating with them clearly and professionally throughout the project. Being responsive, flexible, as we talked about, willing to adapt to your clients' needs and stuff. And don't forget to provide value beyond just designing, offering insights and ideas that will help your clients, achieve their goals. And then finally, always like kind of following up when the project's complete. Don't, trying to build that long-term relationship with your clients, and I personally found that that's where I sit when I succeed the most. I can watch my tutorials. I can always keep up on industry standards. I'm on TikTok. Ask my husband every night. I'm on TikTok watching how to do lettering.
Yeah.
A little for you other super newbie freelance designers. TikTok's great for like little short, some branding insights or how to use this tool correctly in Illustrator or something. But I think moreover, the real value or advice I can get is just develop. Don't be afraid to get invested with those clients and really providing them value and really getting to know them, because that will serve you so much farther. They'll refer you, they'll go back to you, they'll have this long lasting relationship with you that will ultimately feed your business years to come, and you'll have that reputation, and building that reputation is really, really important, because as we know, girly, and the creative business or TV and copyright, all that, it can be a small network. It can be a small group,
Yeah.
and everybody talks to each other. So I think that for me would be the best advice.
So good. So good. Freelance fam, I hope you're listening to all these gems that Vanessa has dropped for you, because there's a lot of gold. You want to listen to this episode again, take your notes, send it to a friend, because this advice could save you heartache. You can learn from some of these things, and just maybe skip over some of the hard things that maybe me and Vanessa had to go through when we were learning, about freelance, about what it means to be a freelance business owner. So good.
Yeah. And if I was going to say, for graphic designers specifically, a really fabulous podcast, not to take away from this one.
Yeah,
I don't want
yeah,
to be
no,
like,
please.
but I listen, it's called Design and Prosper. And that's another great,
Mm,
they give tons of, like I said, if you wanted to take it into like the deep dive of graphic design, that's a good one. But like I said, the tons of learning tools, but that's another one from a business standpoint for graphic designers specifically, and kind of deep dive. That would be another one.
thank you. We'll definitely include a link to Design and Prosper in the show notes so that you can listen and check out that resource. Thank you for sharing that. That's really good. So I know people are going to be in love with this advice and want to learn more about you, Vanessa, want to check out your store. Where can people find you online if they want to connect?
I guess through my Instagram would be
Okay.
the best. I always
Awesome.
joke, as we talked about, I don't have a website right now. I'm always working on it. But as
You're
I like,
busy with
I'm
paying
busy, but
clients. Yeah.
referrals. So see, there's another thing. You don't feel like you even have to have a website. I haven't had a website in years,
Yeah.
and because I'm still working on it, but I have gotten so much work just from referrals, just from
Fantastic.
people enjoying working with me and referring me to somebody else. You can do it there, that alone. So don't feel overwhelmed that I can't even get started until I have a website or a business card. Look at, I'm a perfect example. You don't even need that. Um, but you can find me on Instagram at Sugar Pink Design. That's my handle, Sugar Pink Designs. It's kind of my Etsy store, but that's also me. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, so yeah, don't. It's almost like investing. They always say, "When's the best time to invest?" Now, just get started. Start.
Yes.
Just start designing stuff, even if you don't have a client. Start designing things, putting it on like Dribble and stuff to share. Just start.
I
Trust me.
love that advice. I love that advice because I think that's a part people we get so hung up on it. We want things to be perfect. We want to have all our ducks in a
Yeah,
row. We want to have, we want to tinker with everything. And sometimes that can be even procrastination a little bit. It's the
yeah,
perfection procrastination connection. And to your point, I mean, you have these skills, you had this track record, people like working with you, and you've been able to sustain a 12-year business, without any of these traditional things that people say are great to have, but they're not essential. I've never had anybody ask me, what degree do you have?
yeah,
They just want to see, give me some examples. Okay, I see that you can do XYZ service. All right, you seem like you're a nice enough person. And boom, off to the races. So that's
yeah.
such refreshing advice.
It's so true. I mean, and one more, like I am a graphic designer, and it's another hang up for somebody might be, well, I didn't go to school for graphic design. I
Mm.
didn't go to school for graphic design. I worked at Fox and I was actually on the production side. I was like a camera operator. And I fell in love with the art department. I would hang in there every night and
Wow.
Photoshop. I taught myself Photoshop a little bit, but again, like barely. And a position came open for a broadcast animator. Now, this was a position where somebody out of school who had animation experience was supposed to get hired.
Hmm.
And I, I wanted to be in their world so bad. It was like Ariel. I just want to be part of their world.
Yeah.
I would hang in there. I would hang out in the art department every night. Every time I wasn't, doing my regular job, I
Right.
would hang out in my free time there. And when that job became available, I applied. And I laughed because even like, my best friend, she said, why are you applying for that job? You have none of the skills. And I went into the interview and I told my boss at the time that who ended up becoming my mentor. I said to him, I said, listen, I don't have a degree in animation or graphic design. I just know Photoshop. I know I don't have any of the skills for this job, but I can promise you one thing. I will learn. I will
Mm.
learn it. I will learn everything there is to know, and I will show up and I will have a positive attitude and I will learn it. You give me a chance and I'll be the best employee you ever had. I promise. Take a
Wow.
chance. And he did. And he
Wow. I
hired
love
me and I
that.
learned on the job. I learned by doing. I taught
Yes.
myself everything I know, everything that you give me this praise for. I
Yeah.
taught myself. You can teach yourself and if I can learn it, anybody can learn it.
You're so good.
Being
That's
honest. So again,
great.
it just calls back to that. Don't be afraid to start. You can. You can do
Mm.
it, you know. Yeah.
So good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Vanessa. You're a gem. You're so talented and you're so generous with this advice. And just thank you for being you. And I think your story is going to inspire so many people and hopefully motivate them to take that first step so that they can be the next success story. I love it. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
oh, thank you, girlie. Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I love seeing your smiling face. So thank you so much for having me on.
Likewise. Thank you.